All right, today we're going to talk about something that's absolutely critical to a company's survival. But honestly, it's so often misunderstood. We're talking about working capital. But first, let's kick things off with a real head-scratcher. Imagine this. A company's financial report looks amazing. They're posting record sales, huge profits, everyone's high-fiving. And then, bam, out of nowhere, it just goes belly up. How is that even possible? It sounds like a total paradox, but believe me, it happens all the time. And the answer, well, it all comes down to the difference between saying you made a profit and actually having the cash to pay your bills.
And that, my friends, is what we call the profitability paradox. It's this incredibly dangerous gap between what the accounting books say is happening and what's actually in the bank.
You know, there's this classic saying in finance, and it's brilliant. Profit is an opinion, cash is a fact. Think about it. A company can make a massive sale, send the invoice, and immediately book that as profit. But what if the customer takes 30, 60, maybe even 90 days to pay up? That profit, it isn't cash yet. You can't use an IOU to pay your employees' salaries or keep the lights on. And this is exactly where so many businesses find themselves in deep, deep trouble.
So how on earth do businesses survive this cash gap? Well, that brings us to the hero of our story today, working capital. This is the financial lifeline that keeps a company going in that tricky period between making a sale and actually getting the money for it.
Okay, so what is this stuff really? Well, put simply, working capital is the money a business uses for all its short-term, everyday stuff, the day-to-day grind. The formula is pretty straightforward. You take your current assets, things like cash and inventory, and you subtract your current liabilities, which are basically all the bills you need to pay soon. What's left is the money that's actively working to keep the business running.
Now, it's just as important to understand what working capital is not. We are not talking about the big long-term investments. A company's factory, its shiny new machinery, that whole fleet of trucks. Yeah, those are all super valuable assets, but they are not working capital. You can't just saw off a piece of a delivery truck to make payroll on Friday, right? Working capital is all about having liquid cash and staying financially healthy in the short term.
You want to know my favorite way to explain this? It's simple. Working capital is a business's oxygen. A company can be strong, profitable, muscular, whatever you want to call it, but if you cut off its oxygen supply, it doesn't matter how strong it is. It will collapse, and fast. This is the cash that keeps the business literally breathing, day in and day out.
Okay, so let's just nail this down before we move on. Working capital is that essential pool of cash for daily operations. It has nothing to do with those big long-term investments. Got it? Cool. Now let's see how it actually moves through a business.
Okay, so we know it's oxygen, but how does this oxygen actually get pumped through the body of the business? Well, we can see it in something called the operating cycle, or, as I like to call it, the business engine cycle.
Picture this. It all starts with cash going out. In step 1, you spend money to buy raw materials or inventory. Then, in step 2, you turn all that stuff into your final product. Step 3, you make a sale. Awesome. But you probably haven't been paid yet. So that sale becomes an accounts receivable, which is just a fancy term for an IOU from your customer. And finally, step 4, the moment of truth. The customer pays you, that IOU turns back into cold, hard cash, and the whole engine starts right back up again.
And this right here, this is the whole game. The goal for any smart business is to make this cycle as short and as fast as humanly possible. The quicker you can turn that initial cash you spent back into cash in your bank, the less working capital you need to have sitting around. This is a massive competitive advantage. Think about a grocery store selling milk. That's a super fast cycle. Now think about a company building airplanes. That's a very, very long one.
So really, what it boils down to is this. The operating cycle is the incredible journey a dollar takes, from your pocket, out into the world through your business, and hopefully back into your pocket again. And managing that journey efficiently, that is the true art of business.
But that leads to a really important question, doesn't it? How much working capital is the right amount? This is what I call the Goldilocks zone. You don't want too little, you definitely don't want too much. You need it to be just right.
Let's break down the two extremes, because they're both dangerous in their own way. If you have too little working capital, oh my man, that is a crisis just waiting to happen. You can't pay your suppliers. Maybe you miss payroll. You have to pass up on a golden opportunity because all your cash is tied up. It is a direct path to failure. But on the flip side, having too much working capital isn't a good thing either. It just means you have lazy money sitting around in a bank account earning practically nothing. That cash could be used for growth, for innovation, for anything.
It's a huge sign of inefficiency, and investors hate to see it.
You know, there's a quote that really hits the nail on the head here. It says the efficiency of a firm is always subject to the correct estimate of the working capital requirement. In other words, a company's entire ability to plan and succeed, well, it all hinges on getting this one number right.
So let's be super clear. The goal here isn't to have the most working capital. The goal is to optimize it. You need enough to run smoothly and grab opportunities, what we call adequate working capital, but not so much that you're wasting the potential of every single dollar.
Okay, wow. We've gone through a ton, so let's bring it all home. What's the one thing you absolutely need to walk away with from all this?
If you remember nothing else from this, remember these 4 things. Number 1, and this is the big one, profit is not cash. Say it with me. Number 2, working capital is the business's oxygen. It's lifeblood for day-to-day operations. 3, the operating cycle is the roadmap that shows you how that cash moves through the business. And finally, number 4, managing that flow, finding that Goldilocks zone is absolutely 100% critical for a business to survive, let alone succeed.
So I'm going to leave you with a challenge. The next time you look at any company, I don't care if it's a huge corporation or just your local coffee shop, ask yourself, how are they handling their working capital? Which ones look like they've totally mastered that cash flow cycle, and which ones might be looking profitable on paper but could be secretly at risk of running out of oxygen? It's a whole new way to see the world of business. Something to think about, right?